Its energy surrounds us and binds us.
Hey guys, welcome back to Carbonite Convos. This week we got Fred on from Deathstar Dispatch. Fred, man, you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi, that's me. I'm Fred from Deathstar Dispatch. Um, I appreciate you guys having me on. I've been listening to all of your stuff over the last few weeks, and really good stuff, really exciting stuff, especially with these short stories. I'm a fan of these short stories.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it. Do you have like a favorite one so far?
I actually think the Krennic one is my favorite one so
Yeah.
far. I'm a
Gotcha.
big fan of his character. So
Yeah, definitely. He's pretty intense, pretty deep.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, we just don't get to see a lot of him yet. Hopefully
he's an
we get more.
intriguing character, though. He's one that we'll be talking about here shortly, but I'll save it for that. But he's a very intriguing character.
Sounds
I like
good.
getting into
No
his
doubt.
brain.
Yeah, for sure. So, before we get started, this is kind of the question we ask all everybody we've done a collaboration with. I guess if you want to give us like your favorite movie and then your favorite character too.
My favorite movie is Revenge of the Sith. I'm a prequel kid.
Okay.
Grew
There
up.
you go.
First movie I ever saw was The Phantom Menace. So the prequels for me are like the highlight of my Star Wars fandom. But the Revenge of the Sith for me it's just perfect. And there's not much I can say about Revenge of the Sith except for it's perfect. I think it has almost a cult following at this point, which is kind of cool to see.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
No doubt.
my favorite character, no surprise, Anakin Invader.
There we go. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
26.
26. All right, so I'm 24. So we and Alex 23. So we're kind of all in that same little age range where I remember I was in 5th grade when Revenge of the Sith came out. So, that early late middle school was where Revenge of the Sith falls into our fandom. So that was a really good time for Star Wars for sure. For sure.
There was a lot of good stuff coming out back then, man. You had all the
yeah.
games, you had the movies. The promotion that they did for the prequels was out of this world. So,
Oh yeah. They had some awesome toys too. They had some
they
awesome
did.
toys.
I got one right next to me now. I got this Jango Fett, which is awesome.
Nice.
I don't have mine in packages, but I got that guy. See, I collect them all in box now, but I don't collect a lot of action figures anymore. It's mainly Pops, but I have all those action figures from back in the day that I just got them in a giant box. It would probably make some people just like roll over in their graves if they saw it right now.
Well, a lot of my figures didn't make it through my childhood. They're
Really?
all kind of gone. There's 3 that remain. There's a Power of the
Nuts.
Force Vader, and then Phantom Menace Obi-Wan, and Phantom Menace Darth Maul. But
Nice.
everything else has just disappeared. I don't know where they went
Really?
to. So over time, now that like I'm old and can afford it, I buy what I had as a kid and things that I always wanted and could never have.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Do you have like a Grail toy or like a Grail anything that you are really looking to get?
Well, the one Grail toy that I really wanted that is on the way to me now is the Rise of Darkseid Ahsoka Tano from the Clone Wars. That on a good day is north of $300 in fact.
Really?
And that one is currently on its way to me. So that one's exciting.
That's awesome. Now, is that like a Black Series figure or like what is that?
It's the 3 3/4 inch from the Clone Wars.
Okay.
So it's kind of like this Rex, but
Yeah.
different packaging. It's the black and blue packaging.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Gotcha.
That's dope, man.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you could ask us questions about Pops and we'll know value and we'll know stuff like that. But outside of that, I pretty much don't know a lot about what something's worth.
Well, that's good because we can make a good team because I don't know what any of my Funkos are worth.
Really?
I know it's hard to see in this light, but in this glass cabinet here, the whole bottom half is Funko, all in
Okay.
box. And then
Gotcha.
I have a shelf over to my left that has more Funkos, which are mostly
Nice.
out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, and see, like with me and Alec, as you could see in the background, we have no problem taking them out. Obviously, I actually just had a Grail, like my all-time Grail shipped. I got it in last week. It was the General Grievous pop.
Oh, man, that's a sweet one.
Yeah, so that one's staying in the box. But, for the most part, we, at the end of the day, they are toys, so you can
Do what you want with them.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know, it all depends on your collector preference, right? Like
Yep.
there's certain figures I keep in the packaging and there's certain figures I take out. So everything from the red box line for the Black Series, I have out of the box.
Okay.
And then I have things like some vintage collection I keep in the box because I think the packaging is so cool.
Yeah.
I have this Kylo Ren next to me. I think it just
Yeah.
looks so sweet in the box. I keep it in the box.
No, I feel the same way.
No doubt.
'Cause like usually I'll take my common pops out of the box, but sometimes like for the longest time you can't really see them too bad. The Mandalorian ones right here, I kept those in just because the Mandalorian box, it was so just well packaged, like the logos, the design of it was so cool that I kept them in for a pretty long time.
Yeah, I have the child Funko. I kept that one in the
Yeah.
box just
Nice.
because
Yep.
it looks great, you know.
He's the man.
Yeah, it all depends on your preference. You know, I'm not gonna slander anybody for taking their toys out of the
Yeah.
box. They're toys at the end of the day.
Exactly.
For Funko
Exactly.
specifically, the only ones I keep in the box are the exclusives.
Mm-hmm.
So, like behind you, I see you have the Duel on Mustafar. I have that in the box still.
Yeah.
That's a
From
nice
Smuggler's
one.
Bounty.
I was gonna keep that one in the box, but that if all this stuff went away, that'd be the one that I'd keep. I just really like just being able to put that on display more. And this whole like little shelf right here is like Darth Vader, Anakin, and Obi-Wan, and I just don't have room to keep it there in the box.
That's one I'm very jealous of.
Yeah, that Smuggler's Bounty subscription back in the day.
That's
man.
up there on my
Great.
list, man.
Yeah, it's a dope pop. But what do you think? We want to get into some short story
Yeah, man.
action?
Let's do this, man.
Let's do it.
All right. So, I talked enough on the video about, Shaak-Ti, Alec, or Fred. You guys got any thoughts on it?
Yeah, Shaak-Ti's death to me it's humorous at this point because of how many times they keep killing her, you know, and we still don't have a canon explanation, and I don't think we actually will ever get one.
Yeah, it's funny because in the research, I agree, we don't have an official canon, but what we do have is like the most canon, because in the video we have her death from the Force Unleashed, and then we have pretty much three different
canon ones, essentially.
Yeah, like
well,
three different
canon ones.
depictions of the same scene, because we have the deleted scene with Anakin, the unfinished scene, which it's pretty crazy watching that scene. We have the unfinished scene of him stabbing her, through the back during the purge. Then we have Yoda's vision, where it's pretty much that exact scene, but he's just having a premonition of it years before. Well, not even like a couple months before. And then we have the Lego Star Wars one, where it's pretty much kind of the same style. Instead it's him chopping off her head because it's Lego, but it's still that same Anakin killing her during the purge. So going back to what you said, Fred, it's more, we don't have an official canon, but from everything I was reading, that's like the most canon, because everything just was so like similar in those
I think
aspects.
in my opinion, that was the coolest one. Just, I mean, obviously that's, Vader's first mission. It's like you said, like, I think, I mean, to be honest, I'm kind of upset they didn't include that, just because I think that would have set the tone, I think, of what he was really trying to do in a situation.
Yeah, it shows what he has become at that point. It's his
Right.
first, as far as we know, it's his first like major Jedi kill. It's not him killing younglings. It's him hunting down and killing Jedi, which we know that's what Vader's mission was. His sole mission from the Emperor for the first, whatever it was, 10 years is, you are the Jedi killer. Go exterminate them. And, it's brutal. It's dark, but I think showing something like that would have been cool to keep in the film. But
Right.
at this point, I do feel that it's almost canon enough to say Anakin killed her. Exactly how, we don't know. We can leave that to our imagination.
Yeah, and what I am most surprised of is there's two different deleted scenes with her dying, and neither of them made it in. So I just wonder if there's, the good thing is that could leave room to it being told her death being shown yet again, but I'm just surprised that neither of those made it into the final cut of the movie, because we see all the major Jedi Masters get killed. We see Ki-Adi-Mundi. I don't remember what planet, but in the snow, his troops turn on him. We see Plo Koon die, Kit Fisto, all the Masters that go with Mace to confront Palpatine. But she was arguably, one of the most famous Jedi that we never really see die in the movie, even though we've gotten her death 4 or 5 times now. So it's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's a strange situation. I don't know why they cut that out, and especially like you said, they did it twice. And
Yeah.
they were like, first time's not good enough, so let's reshoot it. They reshoot and they're like, no, we're just gonna take it out.
Yeah.
That always kind of confused me. And the other cool thing I like is in season 7 of the Clone Wars, they kind of alluded to it again. They were like,
Yep.
Shaak-Ti was sent to the temple to hang out with Palpatine, but we've lost contact. It's like, oh crap, here we go again.
Yep.
Leave that to your imagination. What's gonna happen? No one knows.
Yeah, it's nuts. I really liked the one of her, the one from The Force Unleashed, because it's almost like you see her in her more raw form. She doesn't have any of the traditional garb on or anything
I
like
like
that.
the twist on her look. I thought that was
she looked
pretty cool.
She looks like a warrior, and I don't know. For some reason, I feel like she could have survived, though.
What I don't understand why she just willingly fell. He probably would have killed her either way, but like,
Yeah,
I don't
know.
She just like, that's not. I just thought that was ridiculous. She literally just willingly killed herself.
Yeah, or maybe she knew something from the Sarlacc that she was gonna die, or that she was too weak. But I don't know. She just kind of throws herself in there. But it is what it is.
Yeah, it's a weird it's a really weird subject. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you guys think we'll ever get an explanation, or are they going to say, you know what, leave it up to whatever your brain can come up with, and kind of more of an ambiguous
At this point, I kind of hope they do another couple little spin-offs of her death, and maybe another 2 to 3 versions of it, and just leave it up to us to interpret, what our favorite aspect of it is.
Yeah, personally, I think they'll because they could go either way with it. I think if they do it one more time, that would be the final death. That would be, canon and everything. But also, I feel like it's kind of like a running joke that she's died X amount of times, and we still don't really know how she died. Like, we can assume that it was from Anakin, but we don't know that for sure. But I think maybe my best guess is with these Vader comics and how many like flashbacks he goes through and just reminiscing he does. I think maybe we'll get an official like comic mention from it where he's going back to possibly his first time killing a Jedi, and just kind of seeing that on in the comics that this is how she died, and that's finally our canon explanation for
now
it.
Why is it, do you think he targeted her specifically?
That's a tough one. I don't think it was specific. I think it's just she's a master, and
Just happened to be the first one he came across.
I think that's what was going on in George's brain.
Yeah.
I don't, if you look a little bit deeper, I'm sure you could come up with something, but I think it's just like she's the first one that he encountered that's not like a Padawan. She's a master, and now he being denied the rank of master for so long, and now he's still not a master even when he's a Sith, but him transitioning to a different role, he's like, okay, well, they didn't want to make me a master, including this one. And I think he used that as a fuel for his rage. That's my best guess.
For sure. I think it was pretty I just think it was like simple, because I think it was, she was the only Jedi, well, for the most part, one of the most known ones, not out on a mission or, had just been killed by Palpatine. Because I know we had the deleted scene with Grievous. So at that point, she could either be dead by Grievous, or we haven't seen much else from her. She could have just been in the temple this whole time. So it could have been, she was, what's the word? She was meditating when this all went down because she seemed like she was disturbed. She was like, "What is it, Skywalker?" And usually they're a little more welcoming, but I think maybe she just got the shit end of the stick. She was just in her quarters, and Anakin knew where to find her.
Vulnerable.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was curious when watching that video, like, how did she not sense something was off?
Right.
I don't know, because we might
Maybe
be
she
looking
did.
in. Maybe.
Maybe that's why
Could've.
she was sitting there meditating, and she
Yeah,
kind of gave that more unwelcoming.
that's actually very true.
What
I
am
hadn't
I?
thought of
I don't
that.
even remember what the word was I was about to say, but yeah, like maybe she did sense something was going on, and that's why she kind of was like, "Anakin, what's going on?"
Yeah, I haven't thought of that because what is she really going to do against this battalion of clones coming at the temple,
Right.
led by one of the most powerful Jedi?
Yeah, and like you know that they all sense it because you see.
Yeah,
I mean, they cut to Yoda. He grabs his chest, and even Ahsoka in the Clone Wars, Maul, they all sense it. There's a huge shift, so there's no way she did not sense it. She can't be that blinded at that point.
yeah,
Right.
She can't be the only one left out of the club. So
yeah,
I think that she had to have sensed it, but I think she knew like this is her time now. She's going to do what she needs to do, and maybe fight till the end, or maybe just say, okay, I lay my weapon down, I give up. You win.
yeah. Before we transition into the other story, going off of, everything we've talked about with Shaak-Ti dying in the Revenge of the Sith and the other, Jedi Master deaths, which death in Revenge of the Sith affected you guys the most?
Just Jedi or in general?
That's a good
Uh,
question.
I would say like
Just
Order 66. Yeah.
Fred, go ahead, man.
This one is tough. So from Revenge of the Sith specifically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just from the movie, because I know there have been other depictions of Order 66, but like out of like, we couldn't have gotten more than 7 to 10 Jedi that were shown dying. Like, which one like really stuck with you guys the most?
I think upon my first like few watches growing up, it was probably Mace Windu, just because he was the most prominent figure. It's Samuel L.
Yeah.
Jackson. But aside from that, after watching Clone Wars, it's Plo Koon for me. That one just hurts, man. Like,
Yeah.
the Wolf Pack is so
Same.
cool. Like Filoni, Filoni loves the Wolf Pack. That's his thing. And then Plo Koon, we see him treat the clones not as clones. He's like the only
Yep.
Jedi that's like, they're not clones, they're men. And they are, they are just like us. They are one of us. And to see them like just turn on him like that, oh man, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, especially after Clone Wars, man, I fell in love with Plo Koon. Like,
Amazing character.
amazing character. And what kind of got me about it? Yes, it's emotional, and yes, obviously he treated the clones extremely well, but he was doing something that he was so good at. Like, he was a fantastic pilot, and literally, like, of all things that happened, like it could have been fighting any sort of separatist, whatever, and he would have taken out anybody. And then his own troops, when he's out doing his thing in his ship, and then he gets shot from behind, and obviously we all know what happens. But again, he's just doing what he does best, and he just can't do anything about it.
It's a killer.
Yeah.
It really is, man.
Yeah. And I was gonna say either Plo Koon, or I think Ki-Adi-Mundi's death was pretty emotional too, just because he has his lightsaber above his lightsaber above his head. He's like running into the heat of battle, and then he can just tell something's wrong. And I feel like with him, he's one of the only ones where you can actually see the look in his eyes when like he realizes what's going on, and you just see that look of just shock and despair as they just get ready to turn on him. So I think that one was pretty crazy too.
That's a good one to highlight, because I think a lot of people don't realize you can see that it's just straight up change in his face.
Yeah.
And that one did hurt a little bit too. That's another character we get more of in the Clone Wars. Obviously, like the Clone Wars added a lot to this.
Yeah.
Even before season 7, just seeing all these like background masters that we never see in action. We never see them do anything besides yell at each other in the council. Now they have relationships, they have story arcs, they have more character than ever. And to see them get gunned down like that after watching Clone Wars, it's tough, man.
It is.
It makes it hard. It's such a subtle end to like this phenomenal story that yes, it's sad they die, but what's even more sad is like the way that they're obviously the way they're killed, and they're literally it's just such a brief, harsh cutoff. You know what I'm saying?
It's treason, man.
Yeah.
You know?
It's treason. So, you guys kind of had me interesting, especially you, Alec. Like, what non-Jedi death was the hardest for you in the Revenge of the Sith?
Oof.
Because it just seemed like you had one on your head.
No, I was just curious about the question.
Okay.
I mean, that's
I couldn't
tough.
really think. I can't really think of too many people who die other than Jedi. Like obviously Padme, but
see, Padme's death doesn't quite do it for me, man. Like,
doesn't do it.
It's
you
sad.
It to be more
it's
brutal.
Sad. I mean, it sounds bad, but
No,
a little bit, yeah. Like
I get it.
But
I get it. So
that's a tough one to answer for Revenge of the Sith because you don't really see that much of it. Most people that die in Revenge of the Sith are either clones that you don't really know their name, or the obvious like Grievous and Padme, which don't really hit you that hard.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard to answer that one. If it was in the era as a whole, different story.
Yeah.
But specifically Revenge of the Sith, I don't think there's a non-Jedi that just breaks my heart.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's switch gears now. Let's get into a little Krennic action. Any thoughts about the old director Krennic?
I have lots of thoughts about Krennic. I love this guy.
Yeah.
Krennic to me is the embodiment of a character that you're supposed to hate, but you walk out of the theater in love with the character and feeling bad for him.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously he is an evil human. Like he just tried to like kidnap a child from her parents, right? You see him building this super weapon that he knows what it's going to be used for. It's not like he's that oblivious. He's a very smart guy. And he goes through all of this crap, and at the end of the day, he gets shit on by Tarkin nonstop. And that does two things for me. It enhances the character of Tarkin because it shows you just how much of a dick Tarkin really is. And on top of that, it gives you this, it's weird. It gives you sympathy for Krennic, who's the bad guy of the movie, but you still feel bad for him and you want him to win, but you don't want your good guys to lose. It's an interesting dynamic, man. I think he brings a lot to the table.
I agree.
Go ahead, Alec.
No, I was going to say, I thought it was funny talking about how big of a dick Tarkin is, man. Like, obviously, Tarkin's a very complex character as well. I love seeing the battle between the two.
Yeah, especially doing research on this topic. Like, they feuded for years. Like, they did not get along throughout the entire process of the Death Star being built. And especially after learning about that. But Fred, going back to what you were saying is, you leave the theater feeling bad for him. And it's almost like for me, every time I watch it, I feel more bad for him. It's ridiculous because we talked about it in the video. Yes, it was pure evil what he was doing, but at the same time, that was his life goal was to make this killing machine. And then literally to the day that it was being unveiled and, shown to the galaxy or just utilized, it's used to kill him, like with its second strike ever. So I think just the irony in that is ridiculous.
No, I like the, so the whole point of the video is obviously, what's going through his mind as he's seeing this laser come down on a Scarif. It kind of goes like the whole thing, like, Fred, I don't necessarily know if he's evil or not. I mean, yes, he makes terrible decisions, and yes, he knows what he's doing, but I don't know. And just in my opinion, it kind of seems like he's just trying to make the best out of a scenario that, you know, he's gonna have to do no matter what. And it's like, if you can't beat him, kind of join him type of thing.
Yeah, I can
So
see that being a thing.
obviously, and I mean, when you're talking about like arch enemies and stuff, obviously him and Tarkin's actions are almost fueling Krennic's decisions. So like,
Yes.
there's again going to the empathy of having empathy for Krennic. You almost can't blame him. I mean, yes, you can, because he's obviously killing a ton of people, but like, he's trying to become this person. He's trying to be the best that he can be. He's trying to become a head honcho in the Empire, and you know, Tarkin's in his way, and so he's doing what he has to do to get around Tarkin almost.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's a weird thing. I think it's like a transition of evil for him. I don't think he started out being evil, but obviously, like, yeah, you start to just do what you have to do in order to survive in this galaxy where the Empire rules. It's the Empire's way of life now. And as someone who has worked their way up to a director in the Empire, I think, yeah, he didn't really have much of a choice, because now if you go backwards, they're going to kill you for treason. But if you go forwards, you're killing, you know, potentially millions of people when this Death Star is done being built. So
That's
it's
the sorry.
muddy
Go ahead.
water. Oh no, you're fine. I was just going to say it's muddy waters. You know, he didn't really have much of a choice, but at the end of the day, I think that he knew the decisions he was making were bad ones, and I think by closer to the end of the film, he agreed with his own decisions. I think he started to get a little bit lost until he was about to die.
No, that's a great point. It's so obviously if he goes backward to commit treason, he's going to be killed. On the other hand, like, if he can't complete his mission, he's going to be killed anyway. So I guess whatever his motives for doing everything is for him not to die. Obviously, because like, whenever, you know, important people in the Empire fail, they're just, you know, executed because they can't do their job. And so again, looking at it from that aspect, it goes back to the empathy thing again.
I think I just disagree just because I've read just a crap ton of stuff about him coming up with the Death Star. I think he was evil the entire time up until the moment he was about to die, because, you know, we get a line from the movie when he's talking to Galen saying, we were this close to bringing peace and security to the galaxy, and said, you're confusing peace with terror. He said, you have to start somewhere. So he knew what he was doing was wrong. But I think it even went back to his early days with Galen, because when I was researching for this whole thing, I found out that they were like best friends, and they were roommates. I'm pretty sure they were roommates going through like the Imperial Academy or whatever. And Galen was very shy, so Galen never wanted to go to parties or anything. Krennic was always the one that had to make him go out. And Galen knew, like, from the start, that he did not want to be a part of this Death Star project. But, you know, Krennic being able to convince him and sway him whichever way he wanted throughout their entire, like, relationship, pretty much, he was able to get Galen on board for a little bit. Clearly, we see the start of Rogue One. He came to his senses, realized that he couldn't do it. And yes, he was kind of Galen was faking it when he came back, but still Krennic ended up getting what he wanted. And if the Empire, they're notorious for getting everywhere 1 minute too late. If they would have been on Scarif and been able to get the plans and held the rebels off, the Death Star project would have worked fine, you know?
Yeah, you know, you make a great point, and I think what me and Alex were trying to say was he was you're not born evil, right?
Yeah.
That's a transition over time. So I think once the Empire took over, something clicked in his brain where he was like, okay, this is what I
Yeah.
have to be now. And that's when he started to transition. So I think from his start with the Empire is when he became evil.
No, I agree.
Yeah, that makes
It's
sense. For
it's
sure.
kind of, again, like no one's, like just like you said, man, no one's born evil. What I guess the perception of evil becomes is when you're taught or you believe in one thing. So, example, the Empire trying to bring peace to the galaxy, comparison to, I don't know, Thanos and the Infinity Stones, or Far-Lord, Ozai and the Avatar: The Last Airbender, everything like that. Like, they're trying to accomplish something, okay? Now, whether the origins of that are good or bad, that's another story, but the Empire is trying to bring peace and everything to the galaxy, and they're recruiting all these people to come, obviously work for the Empire. And we have no way of knowing this, but Krennic's original want to join or want to become part of this Death Star could have obviously been good reason. They don't know exactly what's going on with Vader and Palpatine. They don't really understand what's going on with that. But exactly like you said, it's a transition. Everything, they say you either die a hero or live long enough to be,
See yourself become the villain.
Exactly. So, his motives over time change, and with everything going on with Krennic and obviously the fear of death and all these sort of things, that manipulates it over time. So I don't necessarily think he started evil. Just like Fred said, it's more of a transition.
And that's like the
I agree.
motto of the Empire, right? Like, it's use fear to get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the Empire does a good job of using that slogan on its own people. That's the way I see it. I mean, like we talked about before, if you treason or you fail the Empire, you're off like that. No second chances, unless you're Vader, where sometimes you're nice and you give a second chance and then you kill them anyway. But yeah, it's the Empire as a whole is an interesting faction. It's funny because I'm more of a fan of like the Age of the Republic, but
that's funny.
The Empire is just so fucking fascinating. I can't.
It is.
I love. I have an attraction to tragedy and darkness in characters and in movies and in factions as a whole. So all that dark shit to me is just so interesting to learn about and really get into, like, psychology of how
it's way more complex.
Exactly. And the more complex for me, the better. I'm all on board with like all this crazy dark side shit,
Yeah. I just Alec, that made it. All right, so I just started recording, so we can pick up wherever.
Give me a sec. Let me wipe this shit off because that's made that way worse.
Dude, that looks good.
That looks great now. You're good to go.
All right, so we're good.
Right, let's do this.
I don't remember where the exact last thing I said, but I think I might have wrapped up my statement there. I think.
I stopped hearing. I think it was right when you were like, they're rooted in. Like,
I used the word rooted. Oh shit.
Maybe not. Like, I think it was more like the Empire starts with, like. To be honest, I don't know. Like, it was something.
I mean, we can move on to another aspect of it if we want.
Yeah, or someone can add on, and wherever my statement ended, like, just pick a sentence where I stopped talking.
Yeah.
And put it from there and then insert the next clip.
We'll make it work.
Whatever works, dude.
We'll just continue with the Empire talk. What I think is interesting about the Empire, and I haven't really delved too much into it since I saw it about probably a couple months ago. But when you look at it, you can look at it from good, evil, and goodness. This is a point of view. There are fans that 100% are on the Empire's side. Like, you have this farm boy that joins this pack of rebel just terrorists that come in and topple the government.
Rebel scum.
Rebel scum. And you just have this Empire that's just trying to provide peace for the galaxy. And although we see the harsh side of that on the screen, they do a lot of good for the galaxy, helping keep marauders and pirates and just all the like cartels and gangs from these people's homeworlds. Like, they do good, but they just, it's not in the right way.
It's doing good with the wrong intention.
I love you
Yeah,
said that, because there's
it's just
bad
for
stuff
power.
about there's terrible stuff about the rebellion as well. Like example, like a Saw Gerrera type character being an extremist. Like, yes, his intentions are there, but like his way of doing things, his motives are absolutely horrendous. Like,
But that's where it goes into Rebels, where you see Ezra
right,
and Rex and Kanan say, okay, like, yes, you're doing this for the good reason, but you're doing it, if you're doing it with no care in the world about how you get there, you're no different than them. So
right.
I
But
think
and then
that
there's the exact opposite. There's people in the Empire. Nick, I remember when we were watching Rebels over the summer, man. You had made a great point. Like, the Empire itself isn't evil. Like, the people
mhm.
within it, like, it's
There are a
obviously
lot
there's
of
a
people,
couple people in there that make it not so great, but
for the most part, like, they're just stormtroopers. They're troopers. Like, they're not they, I don't know, they don't join because they want to kill people. They join because they truly believe that they can help bring peace and justice to the galaxy. And I think we see that, and I like it in Solo, where we see the Empire's propaganda in the, not the airport, but like the spaceport, whatever it is. You see, join the Empire, help. Like, it's just like how it would be to join the Air Force or join the Army, where you think you can do, good, make something of yourself, with no idea that what you're doing is something wrong. I'm not saying like our military is anything like that, but like,
Right.
that's the type of vibe you get from those ads and that propaganda. It is really interesting.
Yeah, I like to compare. This is going to be really out there, so just bear with me here, but
Let's hear
I
it.
like to compare the reign of the empire to Hitler's reign,
Oh,
because
I
it's
think
the
that's
same
totally in
thing.
there.
And if people, some people might not like this part of what I have to say, but it's just history. I can't control it. I can't control the facts of history, but Hitler obviously was a terrible human being. He was one of the top 5 worst people to ever exist on this planet Earth. But he actually did do a lot of good for Germany's economy at the time. It's just the way he went about it was the most fucked up way humanly possible.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. So I think the empire is very similar in that way, where uh are they trying to do good by bringing justice? As the empire as a whole, yes, but the people up top, no. It's the
Exactly.
same thing. Hitler up top, picture Hitler versus and Palpatine, right? Hitler has all these people doing his bidding for him, and they think they're doing it for a good cause, but really they're doing it for the higher ups sadistic ways. And it's the
Yes.
same thing with the empire. Palpatine is the one puppeteering all this mad shit, and I guess Vader too, but Vader's also the victim, right? He thinks he's doing this for good, but he's not. All these people, I'll say most of these people, think they're doing this for good, and they're not. And that's the tragedy of Anakin and the tragedy of so many of these Imperial characters. They don't know that they're fucking up, but they are. And
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting. I think it's interesting to compare the two.
It isn't. There's a lot of that in The Force Awakens too, especially on the Star Killer base.
Oh man,
That
yeah,
that just speech, like, just screamed Nazis and Hitler to me, because you get the red color scheme, you get the salute at the end, you get this guy screaming up there about, this is their last day, this is our time, and all that. So that just, like, I completely agree with that comparison with Hitler.
I guarantee that had some sort of the fuel for that idea came from that, because like
oh
Oh,
yeah,
when
it
we're
did.
when we're talking about pure power, and obviously Palpatine with the unlimited power thing, like Nazi Germany was extremely powerful. And so like the way they did things, their motives, and their war efforts, the way the propaganda was seen to their people, and like obviously how they manipulated and tricked people into thinking they're doing the right thing, man. Like that's power, man, and that's just getting people to do your bidding in any way possible.
And on the same side, you don't get to that point without being a great leader, because, you know, Palpatine, terrible evil person. Hitler, terrible evil person. Both of them, fantastic leaders. They had, a galaxy and a nation rallied behind their cause because of their leadership skills, how they could convince people that what they were doing was right. So I think that just screams the Empire.
Yeah, there's so many ties between like the Nazis and the Empire. It's kind of weird. Even
Yeah,
look at the flag behind me.
I know. That's what I'm
I didn't want
thinking.
to say anything,
If
but I
you
was like,
squint, if you
that's
squint your eyes, right, it almost looks like a Nazi flag, and it's not. It's an imperial flag, but that's why I keep it in my office and I don't fly it outside my home. So
Yep.
yeah, like this was actually a present from my dad like 3-4 years ago, and he thought I was gonna fly this outside. But I opened the box and I didn't see the logo. I just saw the red flag. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah,
Hold on, dude. And then
I think it looks sweet right there.
yeah,
I do
thanks,
too.
man. I love it right there. It's fantastic. But yeah, I mean, even their flag looks like a Nazi flag. It looks, it's so reminiscent of the Nazis. It's just, and it's compelling. And I think that's another reason why I am so into the Empire, because I think World War II is a extremely dark but fascinating and intriguing part of our history.
Yeah.
And it's for people that don't know me, actually people that do know me don't know this, but I'm a pretty big history buff too. So World War II is, to me, probably my favorite thing to learn about. I took a whole class on Nazi Germany back in the day, and
Really.
yeah, it was called Remember the Holocaust.
I mean,
And
it is a really interesting topic.
yeah, and I remember when I took that class, like I didn't expect to make links to Star Wars with it, but here I
Yep.
am years later. Came in
No,
handy.
exact.
Nintendo.
And
That's awesome.
yeah, it's definitely modeled after that. But so getting back to
Krennic.
Krennic, yeah,
Oh,
man, we
right, that's
really
what we were talking
That's
about.
what
I know, right?
Hey,
That's how it works.
It's called Carbonite Convos for a reason, right? It's
Yeah, emphasis on the
get on it.
combos.
Exactly.
Dead ass. But yeah, I think it really is just heartbreaking every time you watch it. Not because you do want to see him pass, but like, who are we to decide who lives and dies? That's not our decision. But, we as humans, I think, make that conscious choice when, he has no problem ending millions of lives. You say like, okay, yeah, he kind of deserves to die. It's just, man, the way that he dies is just incredible. And one thing that got me, which Alec, I don't think, long story short, I went and visited Alec in West Virginia last week, and we watched Rogue One, and that's where I kind of got the idea to dive into this. But I hadn't noticed it until I watched it with you that day, that I think like very like that there's a little glint or whatever the word is of green, because they show Krennic's face a couple different times looking up at the Death Star, and then you hear Tarkin, "You may fire when ready." You see all the lasers converge, and then you see Tarkin's face one more time before we see the laser destroy the tower and explode like off in the distance. And I think like it's very faint, but you can see a tiny hint of green in
Oh yeah.
Krennic's eyes, just, and you can really see the lasers. And that's why I really wanted to dive into this, because not only does he see the Death Star right there, he sees like the laser, like maybe when the Death Star first came up, he thought that he would be able to escape. Like they would send someone down, pick him up, or at least pick, a couple of them up. But I think in that final split second where he saw those green lasers, he was insignificant to them. They had their weapon. They probably thought they were going to be able to get the plans back, no problem, but they had no problem just destroying their entire citadel with all of their blueprints just for this one thing, and one of their highest leaders as well with it. So it just makes his death so tragic, but it's like
I can only imagine, like, obviously, like, he probably felt like he was a very important factor, and he's literally laying on the ground and looking up. I mean, my first reaction would be like, wait, what's going on? Like, hold on, like, it just wait a minute. But God, man, like, that's absolutely insane. And you mentioned earlier, like, Ki-Adi-Mundi's like reaction whenever like Order 66 happened and he turned around and the clones fired on him. Like, the pure emotion on Krennic's face, and the pure like surprise, shock, depression. Like, I mean, you can see in his face all the emotions that he's going through, and it's very powerful. Like,
Yeah,
it is.
it's Krennic's death. I think that as soon as the Death Star popped up, I think he started to kind of shit his pants a little bit. I think he was like,
I
"Oh
would.
man,"
yeah,
because I think that he's been in the Empire long enough, and he ranks high enough to know
It's a good point.
they are not opposed to killing off their own if it is for the benefit of the Empire.
Yeah.
If it is something that needs to be done, they're gonna do it. And I think he knows that. So I think soon as the Death Star shows up, he's like,
Shit.
"Oh shit,
It's
not now."
it's funny because he might be one of the not one of the only people, but the person who knows its destructive capabilities the best. So he, like, right when he sees that show up, he knows he has literally just a couple seconds. So we can only imagine what was going on in his mind. Maybe, for all we know, maybe he was like, all right, kill me and get these plans back and bring peace to the galaxy. I doubt it, but
one thing I do like
we never
about
know.
Rogue One is that they obviously talking about the Death Star is like that it shows exactly what happens. Like, I mean, in like obviously in the original trilogy, you see him blow up Alderaan, like, and you just see it explode. Like, but when you're on what was the name of the first planet that was blown up? Jeddah. Thank you. And you see like the literally the Earth turning up and like it's nuts. And obviously the same thing happens on Scarif. And like I just love that how in depth it really shows. And
Yeah. If Alec, you've heard me talk about this a lot, and this book gives a lot of like different perspectives for this whole conversation from a certain point of view. Have you heard of that, Fred?
Yes,
Have you read it?
it is my favorite Star Wars book.
Yeah, same. So like, Alec, you got to read it because when we're talking about, the Empire isn't full of terrible people, I think of that book as, the stormtroopers, some of the Imperial officers we think of, we learned that they're just people, and a lot of them turned in their minds when they saw what was going on. But also, I really like the story about Bail Organa and his wife and how they were like sitting on the balcony of their, I think it was a palace, of their palace when the Death Star blew up their planet. And I don't think it was really like what we saw in Rogue One. I think the difference is, that was just a single reactor blowing up those cities. I think what's crazy about reading this book is you see how it all changed in like the blink of an eye, because it was like within a couple seconds. It wasn't like you saw the earth toppling over you. Like, it was, for them, they like, and I'm paraphrasing like crazy, but like they felt like a huge shake, and then it was just, they were just gone, like turned to dust like that. So Alec, you got to read that book. I can't wait for the
I
second
know
one either.
it's on the list, man.
You have
Things
to
I
read
need to
that
get
book.
to.
It is no BS. It's my favorite canon Star Wars book.
Same.
It's full of, I think it leaves you feeling extremely satisfied, and you feel like you're reading a new book as the book continues, since it's 40 different stories by 40 different authors. So you're getting different styles in there, and you're learning so much about things that you probably had a lot of questions about.
And I think it's also questions that like you never knew you had either, because it's all background characters. So you're not going to get a story about Darth Vader. You're not hearing about Luke. Like, you hear these characters talking about Luke, but it's of Muftak and Long Snout and a random not a random stormtrooper, but the stormtrooper that zaps Leia. Like, you find out like they're people. They have everyday struggles. How it led them to this point in Star Wars, when, in the movie, when they were making this movie, they were just a big furry alien that they threw in, I'm sure. And now they have a history, and
they're fully fleshed out now.
It's an amazing book.
Like, we're actually one of the examples I'll give you of questions you never had. There's a story about Beru, who almost left Owen because she wanted to be a cook.
Yeah.
So, like, now that you have this information, aren't you kind of like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's
I need to know
nuts.
more.
My favorite, and Alec, I won't spoil anything for you, but my favorite story by far was the Jawa one at the very beginning. I think it's within like the first three or three to five. Now it's probably like the first 5 to 10 stories. I loved the Jawa story. Yeah, it's an incredible book, Alec. You definitely got to read it.
Oh, it's definitely on the list.
We're actually go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say my favorite. Again, no spoilers for you, but my favorite is the R5 story.
That's my second favorite. That was
The only story that's
incredible.
made me cry.
Yeah,
I cried man tears from that.
yeah. That's how the Jawa one made me. And like right after I read the R5 one, I was like, holy shit! Like this is emotional. And like I never wanted the R5 pop. Sorry, I turned around to like get it down, but it's wedged back there. I never wanted the R5 pop until I read that story. I was like, I gotta get him now. Like it's unbelievable. And we're actually doing a new segment. It's not going to be a short story, but it's going to be like not a read along, but a brief synopsis of each of the stories. And we're probably going to do like 5 at a time. So we're going to have like, what is it? 7. We're going to have 8 different videos on it, going through 5 stories each, starting from the beginning.
That's
So
gonna be fun.
yeah, for all of you that haven't read it out there too, like you definitely have to read it. It's incredible.
100% must read. If there's 2 books I recommend any Star Wars fan to read, it's From a Certain Point of View and Lost Stars.
What's Lost Stars about? Is that canon?
Yes, I think it's the first canon book.
Really?
That we got. It's
like when you say first, do you mean the first one written or the first one like in the like canon timeline?
the first one that's canon since Disney took over.
Okay.
Oh,
And
okay.
what's the like premise of
Matter
that?
of fact, let me grab the book for you really quick.
Go for it, man.
For sure. Yeah, Alec, you gotta
I
read
know.
that book.
I know.
I can't
do.
wait for the second one to come out. Cannot wait. And I'm sure they're gonna do one for Return of the Jedi too in 2024 or something. 2023.
2023. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Lost Stars. Claudia Gray.
Yeah.
My favorite Star Wars author, and it's not close.
Really?
The best way to explain this is it's a great book to be introduced to Star Wars books because it's basically a brief history lesson.
Really?
That's kind of the way I would describe it.
I remember I've seen it in Target and I like read I can't remember at all what it was, but I remember like reading the like synopsis of it, but I just didn't want to drop like $25 on it at Target that day.
Dude, it's like $6 now.
Is that on Amazon or
Amazon.
like what is it? Okay.
This is actually my second copy because I lost about 10 books when I moved into this house a few years ago.
Really?
So I checked every box. I have no idea where these books went. They're just gone. So
that's usually how it goes.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. So I've been ordering books that I've read before that I lost that I had to start buying back because I like to read some of them over. But yeah, I would highly recommend this one too if you haven't read it yet.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, I think we've had a great discussion today. If you guys have any other things you want to talk about briefly.
Darth Vader is the best character. Move on.
That is all. That is all.
Can't argue with that.
That is all. Have a good night. No.
Yeah. But man, we really appreciate you being on the show today, man.
That's what you just stole my line. I was about to say I appreciate you guys for having me on.
Yeah, of course.
It's been an absolute blast, man.
Of course. If you guys, aren't following him on Twitter, Deathstar, isn't it Dispatch?
Yeah, I have a character limit on Twitter, kind of.
Yeah. So
it's Deathstar Dispatch on Twitter.
Sounds good. And I actually don't know if we're following you on Instagram or anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I follow you guys on Instagram
yeah,
yet either. Look how great we are at this.
I know. We actually just the guys over at
Nerd Academy.
Yeah, Nerd Academy. They just
Kind
kind
of
of not
helped us
introduce.
go to get started a little bit.
Yeah, because we were on Twitter. We were on Twitter, and we'd been on Instagram. Like, we were doing good on Instagram. There we go. Deathstar Dispatch
Yep.
on Instagram.
Yeah,
We had
I got the
Instagram.
full name.
Yeah, but once we went over to Twitter, we've had so many awesome conversations. Like, we've just been like the tweet I sent out that you responded to. It's like, yo, who wants to collab? And I was surprised we had like 30 people favored it. I was like, this is nuts. Like, I couldn't have imagined that on Instagram, and it's just so easy to talk to everybody on Twitter.
Yeah, I
It's
think
awesome.
Instagram is better for showcasing stuff, and Twitter is better for conversations. So
Yeah,
I slack on Instagram. I've been getting back into the groove. I've just
yeah,
always been a more of a Twitter person than an Instagram person.
it's
I don't
weird.
I don't know what to do on Instagram. I'm just like, I'll take
Yeah,
a picture of this cool coffee mug and upload it with 48 Star Wars hashtags and hope for
yeah.
the best. I don't know what to do.
Since I started, because I run a lot of the social media stuff. So when I started really focusing on Twitter, I really started slacking on Instagram, because Twitter is a little monster within itself. There's just so much to like do, and it's so
Social
easy to get
media is a
information.
beast as a whole. Like
Yeah,
it's a
it's nuts.
we don't realize how much work social media really is.
Yeah, yeah, especially getting on Twitter like now, because if I get notifications on Instagram, it's you know, if I get 12 notifications on Instagram, it's probably a couple follows, some likes, then a comment or two. But on Twitter, it's like if I have 6 notifications, there's a lot of shit I'm gonna have to read and respond to. So I like it though. Like, I've been able to talk to a lot of people, like just like stuff like this. Like, we were able to have
So
someone
I'm
new
going with
on,
it.
and yeah, I like
Yeah,
it.
man, that's what it's all about. I mean, I've met so many people on Twitter over the years, and truly, I'm grateful for like how many people actually care about what I do, and
Yeah,
it, I think that when you start doing things like this, you don't really think that anything's gonna come of it, and like people aren't gonna care about what you're talking about, or what your goals are or anything, and then you realize that like people are fucking nice. People are
people
really
want to
nice.
help.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
people will be there, and it's you know it comes in small doses, but like the more you go, the more the doses increase, and I think it's a beautiful thing, man. How just like all these different Star Wars nerds are just finding each other on Twitter. I mean,
yeah,
I just added a co-host to my podcast, and I met him on Twitter. Like, you
that's
know,
awesome.
some of my closest friends now are people I've met online, which is,
It's
you know,
crazy.
yeah, it's weird world, man. But
Yeah,
hey, I don't really have any in-person friends that love Star Wars the way I do. There's like
yeah,
one. So finding my people on the internet is kind of the way I have to do it. And I think
yeah.
that's true for a lot of us.
Oh yeah, for sure. And Alec hasn't been into Star Wars as long as I have, but I'm lucky that Alec loves it. And like, I live with a couple guys, they like Star Wars, but my one friend is into game. I feel like I'm looking around a lot because I'm in this pop room, and my buddies' pops right here are all Game of Thrones. So he loves Game of Thrones, and then I have my other roommate over there. He has a whole wall of Batman DC pops, and he talks about DC. And man, like, I love Superman, I love Batman, but I don't know anything about them. Like, I know Shmi Skywalker and Vader and Han Solo, like all these people, like, he can go on and on about Batman. But, Alec, I can talk with about Star Wars. And then I've had just, awesome conversations with people on Twitter so far about Star Wars. So it's pretty awesome.
I just have to add, I'm so happy you said Shmi Skywalker. She's one of my favorites. I
Really?
love Shmi. Shmi is such an overlooked character. I adore Shmi. Like I
Yeah.
have a Shmi Skywalker collection.
Really?
And there's not much there because she's gotten one toy ever. But there's a
Yeah,
Power of the
dude, you're not
Force
wrong.
figure. She like how you can't really see it, but over here I'm also starting a wall of Phantom Menace figures,
That's
and
cool.
the Phantom Menace didn't even give her a toy, and it's the only movie
Really?
she's really in, right? the only toy that she has is Power of the Force. And I have that. I have like the Diet Pepsi soda can from the Phantom Menace promo.
Yeah.
I got a couple other little trinkets I found over the years, but I love
That's
Shmi.
cool.
Just had to throw it out there. I was really happy when you said it. I
No, for sure.
my
Man.
heart was like, yes.
Yeah, someone gets it. Yeah, but
That's
again, if you aren't following Fred, he's Deathstar Dispatch on Twitter and Deathstar Dispatch, full word, on Instagram. You got us Carbonite Convos on everything. We got Wall Crawler Pops to the left and Funko Stud right here. But we appreciate the support, Fred. Again, we really appreciate you coming on, and we're looking forward to doing something again in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks again for having me on. This was so much fun.
Course.
I love this, man. This was a good time.
Yeah, man. Thank you again, man. It was awesome.
Absolutely.
For sure. Well, we have a couple short stories coming at you guys next week, and then episode 11 as right when I get another running out of time notification. But until
minutes, you're good.
Exactly 9:50. But until then, guys, may the force be with you, and we look forward to seeing you guys again next week.
Remember, the force will be with you always.